Liam Carter was the kind of boy who made friends wherever he went, but his closest friend was not human. It was Duke, a large, muscular German shepherd with soulful brown eyes and a coat that gleamed in the sun. From the moment Duke arrived, at the Carter household, something special sparked between the two. Duke wasn't just a pet. He was Liam's protector, his partner in adventure, and the silent guardian who followed him everywhere. Liam was 8 years old, full of energy and curiosity. He had a wild imagination that turned the woods behind their house into a jungle filled with secret trails and hidden treasures. Duke matched his spirit with unwavering loyalty, always alert, always ready to protect his boy from any harm. Liam's parents often joked that Duke was more like a shadow than a dog, sticking close at Liam's heels no matter where he went. But Duke's journey to becoming Liam's best friend hadn't been easy. Before coming to live with the Carters, Duke had spent months in a local shelter. He had been surrendered by a previous owner who couldn't handle his nervous energy and occasional aggression. The shelter workers labeled him unadoptable, and many thought Duke's chance at a new life was slipping away. Yet when the Carters walked into the shelter, Liam immediately reached out to Duke, speaking softly and extending a gentle hand. That moment changed everything. Liam's parents saw something in Duke, a fierce intelligence and a capacity for love that had been buried beneath fear and neglect. They took him home, promising to give him the patience and kindness he had never known, and over time Duke transformed. The nervousness faded, replaced by confidence and an unshakable bond with Liam. Every day they played in the backyard, ran through the woods, and shared quiet moments where Duke rested his head on Liam's lap, sensing every emotion his young friend felt. Their bond was unlike any other. Duke seemed to understand Liam in ways no one else could. When Liam was happy, Duke's tail wagged non-stop. When Liam was scared, Duke was by his side, alert and protective. It was as if Duke had made it his life's mission to watch over the boy no matter what. Liam's parents often marveled at the way Duke behaved around their son. He was gentle with Liam's little sister, careful not to knock her over, and always watchful when Liam explored the woods alone. Neighbors had even started calling Duke the guardian dog because of his quiet vigilance. For Liam, Duke was more than a friend. He was family. Every morning Liam would wake up and find Duke waiting patiently at the foot of his bed, ready for the day's adventures. They had an unspoken understanding, a connection that only grew stronger with time. That Saturday morning was like many others. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the air was filled with the fresh scent of spring. Liam packed a small backpack with snacks, a water bottle, and his favorite toy, a small stuffed bear he carried everywhere. Duke, sensing the promise of adventure, wagged his tail excitedly as Liam opened the door. "Ready, Duke?" Liam asked. Slipping on his shoes, the dog barked softly, circling Liam with joy. Together they set off toward the creek, a favorite spot where the water trickled over smooth stones and the trees formed a cool canopy. It was their secret place, where they could play freely and explore without worry. For Liam, those afternoons were pure magic. For Duke, they were moments to prove his loyalty again and again. What neither of them knew was that this ordinary day would soon become the most important day of their lives, one that would test the strength of their bond like never before. The morning sun bathed the Carter property in a warm golden light as Liam and Duke set out toward the woods. The soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet was familiar and comforting, and the laughter of a boy and the gentle panting of a dog echoed through the quiet air. For Liam, these afternoon excursions were a time of endless discovery, where every rock, every tree, and every rushing creek held a new story waiting to be uncovered. "Come on, Duke, let's find that big tree again," Liam said eagerly, tugging Duke's leash just slightly. Duke responded with a happy bark, his tail wagging in perfect rhythm with Liam's excitement. The path to the creek wound through dense trees, the canopy above dappling the sunlight into soft patches on the forest floor. Liam ran ahead, eager to explore the familiar trails, while Duke followed closely, eyes alert and ears perked for any sign of danger. They had been here countless times before. There was nothing new, nothing threatening. Just a boy and his dog enjoying the freedom of the outdoors. but fate has a way of changing the course of even the most peaceful days. As they approached the creek, Liam's attention was caught by a cluster of wildflowers growing beside the trail. Kneeling down, he reached out to pick a bright yellow bloom. Duke sniffed the air, watching his friend carefully, his instincts always on guard. Then, without warning, Liam's foot slipped on a patch of wet moss hidden beneath the leaves. His arms flailed as he tried to catch himself, but it was no use. He tumbled down the steep rocky bank, twisting awkwardly as he fell. The final impact was hard and unforgiving. Liam's head struck a jagged rock near the edge of the rushing water. For a moment, everything went silent. The birds stopped singing, the breeze died down, and Duke's joyful bark caught in his throat. Liam lay still, unconscious, his small body stretched out dangerously close to the creek. The water roared past, a threat just inches away from sweeping him away. Duke immediately sensed something was wrong. His ears flattened against his head, and a low guttural growl escaped his throat. He stepped cautiously toward Liam, nudging him gently with his nose, desperate to wake him. But Liam did not stir. Panic flooded Duke's eyes. His fierce loyalty now gave way to an overwhelming need to act. No longer just a companion, Duke became a protector, focused, determined, and fearless. The dog barked sharply, hoping to draw attention from anyone nearby, but the woods were empty. Liam's parents were at home, unaware of the unfolding crisis, and the quiet forest gave no reply. Duke's gaze flicked around, calculating the danger. The rushing creek could sweep Liam away at any moment. The bank was slippery, and the steep incline would be hard to climb. Yet Duke did not hesitate. With a firm grip, Duke clamped his strong jaws gently around the collar of Liam's jacket. He pulled carefully at first, then with growing strength, dragging the boy's unconscious body uphill. The weight was heavy, and the effort was exhausting, but Duke's resolve never faltered. Each step was a battle against gravity and terrain. Sharp rocks and roots threatened to trip him, but Duke navigated with skill, born of countless walks through these woods. His paws scraped against stones, his muscles strained, but his focus was unbreakable. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as Duke worked. The dog's instinct and training guided him, but it was his love for Liam that powered every movement. Miles away, a woman named Emily was hiking on a nearby trail. She had been enjoying the peace of the woods, taking photos of wildflowers, when something unusual caught her eye in the distance. A large dog dragging what appeared to be a limp body through the trees. Her heart stopped. Without hesitation, Emily pulled out her phone and dialed emergency services, her voice trembling as she described what she was witnessing. Meanwhile, Duke continued his slow, agonizing trek, pulling Liam farther away from the creek, closer to safety. His breaths came in short bursts and his legs shook with effort, but he refused to stop. The bond between boy and dog had been forged through years of love and trust, and now it was being tested like never before. Duke's powerful jaws gripped the collar of Liam's jacket firmly but carefully, ensuring not to cause any more harm. The boy's body was heavy and completely limp, making every step a monumental effort. Yet, Duke's determination never wavered. His paws scrabbled against rocks and roots, his muscles burning with exertion, as he dragged Liam inch by agonizing inch away from the treacherous creek. The woods around them were dense, full of shadows and tangled branches that slowed Duke's progress. A thin layer of mist had begun to rise, making visibility poor and the air chilly. The sun, once bright and cheerful, now dipped closer to the horizon. Time was running out. Despite the exhaustion creeping into his limbs, Duke's eyes were sharp and focused. He refused to let panic take hold. Every instinct screamed at him to keep going, to save his boy at all costs. Meanwhile, miles away, Emily's call to emergency services had sparked immediate action. Paramedics and search and rescue, volunteers were dispatched to the area with urgency, their vehicles speeding down narrow forest roads. Emily stayed on the line, providing detailed descriptions of the location, doing everything she could to guide rescuers to the exact spot. Back in the woods, Duke's struggle continued. His paws slipped on loose stones, and his breath came in heavy pants. But then a sudden rustle from behind startled him. His ears perked up as he glanced toward the sound. A wild animal? Another person. Fear momentarily flickered, but Duke pushed it aside. There was only one mission: save Liam. As Duke pulled harder, he felt the weight shift. The boy's body moved slightly. It was faint, but it gave Duke hope. He barked sharply, a sound full of urgency, as if telling Liam to hold on just a little longer. The forest seemed eerily silent in response, as if it too was holding its breath. Suddenly, Duke heard voices in the distance, shouts, footsteps crunching over leaves. Relief flooded through him, giving him a fresh burst of energy. He barked louder, his tail wagging weakly but defiantly. Within moments, a team of paramedics burst through the trees, led by a tall man carrying a first aid kit. The leader called out, "Is there someone here? We're coming!" Duke didn't wait. He ran toward the voices, dragging Liam's body with him. The rescuers spotted them just in time, gasping at the sight of the boy's pale face and Duke's exhaustion. One paramedic dropped to his knees beside Liam, checking his pulse and breathing. Another radioed for an ambulance. The team worked, quickly but carefully, knowing every second counted. Duke lay down nearby, panting heavily but refusing to leave Liam's side. His eyes never left the rescuers, watching as they stabilized the boy and prepared to move him out of the woods. When the paramedics lifted Liam onto a stretcher, Duke gave a low whine, sensing the urgency. One of the rescuers gently petted Duke's head and whispered, "You're a hero, boy." As the ambulance sped away toward the hospital, Duke trotted alongside for a short distance until the paramedics gently ushered him back. They knew Liam needed him to rest, but Duke's spirit was already preparing for what would come next. In the ambulance, Liam's parents were called and rushed to the hospital, panic and hope mixing in their hearts. The entire town held its breath as news of the rescue spread rapidly. By nightfall, a crowd had gathered outside the hospital, drawn by the incredible story of a dog who had fought through pain and exhaustion to save a boy's life. Reporters arrived, cameras flashing, eager to share this miracle with the world. But amid the headlines and hero stories, the deeper truth was quietly unfolding. The extraordinary bond between Liam and Duke was about to reveal a secret that would leave everyone stunned. As Duke dragged Liam through the woods, exhaustion weighing heavily on his limbs, a chance encounter would change the course of the rescue. Emily, the hiker who had been photographing wildflowers just a short distance away, was still on the phone with emergency services. Her voice trembled with urgency as she described the dog dragging an unconscious boy uphill. "Please, you have to send someone quickly," Emily pleaded. "It looks like the boy is hurt badly. The dog is trying to save him. I don't know how far they are, but it's near the old creek trail just past the fallen oak." The dispatcher on the other end responded swiftly. "Help is on the way. Stay on the line and keep an eye on them if you can." Emily stayed hidden behind a tree, careful not to startle Duke or disrupt the rescue. Her heart pounded in her chest as she watched the dog's tireless effort. Each time Duke pulled Liam a few feet forward, she felt hope rise, then falter, knowing the boy's fragile state. The paramedics were already en route, their vehicle bumping along rough forest roads. 2 men and a woman moved with practiced urgency, their faces set with determination. They had dealt with emergencies in the woods before, but nothing quite like this. Nothing involving a dog who seemed to be acting on pure instinct and love. As they neared the coordinates Emily provided, the forest grew thicker, the terrain more difficult to navigate. The team worked together, one calling out directions while the others prepared stretchers and medical equipment. They could hear distant barking and shouts, signs they were close. Suddenly, Duke appeared through the trees, dragging Liam's limp form behind him. The rescuers shouted words of encouragement, moving quickly to assist. Duke lowered Liam gently onto the ground, panting hard, his eyes scanning the faces that had just arrived. One paramedic immediately began checking Liam's vital signs. His pulse was weak, but steady. The boy's face was pale and bruised, and a slow trickle of blood from a cut on his forehead was already drying. The water from the creek had soaked his clothes, and hypothermia was a real threat. Emily stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I saw them from a distance and called for help," she said. "That dog, he wouldn't give up." The lead paramedic nodded gravely. "That dog saved this boy's life. If he hadn't dragged him out of the water and up this hill, we might be dealing with a much worse situation. Working quickly, the team stabilized Liam, carefully lifting him onto a stretcher. Duke watched every movement with intense focus, never leaving Liam's side. The bond between the two was palpable, stronger than words. As the ambulance sped toward the hospital, Liam's parents raced to meet it, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. They had no idea how close they had come to losing their son, or how Duke's courage had made all the difference. News of the rescue spread like wildfire through the small town. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers were stunned by the story of a dog's determination to save his best friend. Social media exploded with photos and videos, and soon local news crews arrived to tell the tale. But amid the excitement and praise, the Carters knew the journey was far from over. Liam's injuries were serious, and the road to recovery would be long. Yet they found comfort in knowing that Duke was there, faithful, steadfast, and ready to protect his boy no matter what. That night, as Liam lay in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors and machines, Duke rested quietly beside him, guarding him like the hero he was. The unbreakable bond between boy and dog had been tested in the most terrifying way, and it had passed with flying colors. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of the monitors and the occasional rustle of Duke's fur as he shifted beside Liam's bed. The boy lay still, unconscious, but stable, his face bruised and swollen from the fall. Doctors had confirmed that Liam had suffered a concussion, a fractured arm, and several deep bruises, but thankfully no life-threatening injuries. It was a relief, but the journey to full recovery would be slow and delicate. Liam's parents, Michael and Sarah Carter, sat close by, their hands clasped tightly together. They stared at their son, overwhelmed by a mixture of gratitude and guilt. If it weren't for Duke's heroic actions, their son might not have survived the day. Michael looked down at Duke, who rested his head gently on Liam's blanket. "You're a miracle, buddy," he whispered. "You saved our boy." Duke's eyes flickered open, and he gave a small, reassuring wag of his tail. His fierce loyalty and quiet strength had become the foundation of hope for the entire family. In the days that followed, Liam remained unconscious for long stretches. Nurses and doctors monitored him constantly, cautious about any signs of worsening brain injury. The fracture in his arm was carefully set and cast, while his bruises slowly faded. Throughout it all, Duke was an unwavering presence. He rarely left Liam's side, lying close enough to feel the boy's breathing, offering comfort with his warm body and gentle presence. Hospital staff quickly grew fond of Duke, often stopping to pet him or offer a treat, recognizing the vital role he played. But Duke's instinct wasn't just about physical protection. He seemed to sense Liam's emotional needs as well. Whenever Liam stirred or showed signs of discomfort, Duke would nudge him softly, licking his hand or resting his head near his cheek as if to say, "I'm here. You're safe." As Liam slowly began to wake, his eyes fluttering open one afternoon, Duke was the first thing he saw. A soft whine escaped from the dog, and Liam managed a weak smile, reaching out a trembling hand to stroke Duke's fur. "Hey, boy," Liam whispered, his voice hoarse but filled with affection. "You saved me." The connection between them deepened in that moment. No words were needed. It was a bond that had been tested by fear and pain, but it had only grown stronger. Rehabilitation was the next step. Liam would need physical therapy to regain full use of his arm and to help with balance and coordination affected by the concussion. It was daunting, but with Duke's companionship, Liam faced each session with renewed determination. Duke's role expanded beyond protector to motivator. Therapists noticed how Liam responded better when Duke was nearby. His spirits lifted, and his efforts intensified. The dog's presence was a reminder of the love and support waiting for him at home. Outside the hospital, the story of Duke's heroism continued to inspire the community. Donations poured in to help cover medical bills and support local animal shelters. Duke became a local celebrity, with newspapers and TV stations sharing his story as a symbol of courage and loyalty. Yet for the Carters, The most important thing wasn't the fame or the accolades. It was the knowledge that Liam was alive because of Duke, that their bond had literally saved a life. One afternoon, as Liam sat up in bed and looked out the window at the blooming trees, Duke rested his head on Liam's lap. The boy smiled, feeling the warmth and comfort of his loyal friend. "We'll have more adventures soon, Duke," Liam promised softly. And Duke, ever faithful, gave a slow, happy wag of his tail, ready for whatever came next. The story of Duke's heroic rescue quickly spread beyond the small town, capturing hearts far and wide. Social media was abuzz with messages of admiration, sharing photos of the brave dog and the boy he saved. Local news outlets ran feature stories, and soon people from neighboring communities began sending letters, gifts, and even donations to the Carter family. Michael and Sarah found themselves overwhelmed, not only by the generosity but by the outpouring of love and support. Every message was a reminder that Duke's courage had touched something universal, the unbreakable bond between humans and their loyal companions. At the hospital, visitors came to meet Duke. Children from the pediatric wing stopped by to pet him, their faces lighting up at the sight of the gentle dog. Nurses joked that Duke had become the hospital's unofficial mascot, his calming presence bringing comfort to patients and staff alike. But amidst the celebration, the Carters stayed grounded. They knew the real work was just beginning. Liam's recovery was progressing but slowly. The concussion had left him with bouts of dizziness and fatigue. The fractured arm, though healing, limited his movements and tested his patience. Each morning Liam awoke to find Duke waiting patiently beside his bed, a constant source of encouragement. The dog's gentle eyes seemed to say, "We're in this together." Michael organized a small gathering at the community center to thank everyone who had helped. Friends, neighbors, and strangers filled the room, united by their shared admiration for Duke's bravery. The mayor even presented Duke with a special commendation, declaring him an honorary citizen. As the applause filled the room, Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "This," she whispered to Michael, "is the power of love, and of a dog who refused to give up." The community's kindness extended beyond words. Local animal shelters received an influx of donations inspired by Duke's story, helping other dogs in need. Schools invited the Carters to speak about animal care and safety, using Liam and Duke's experience as a teaching moment. One afternoon, as Liam worked through physical therapy, Duke remained by his side, occasionally licking the boy's hand or resting his head on his knee. Liam's therapist smiled. "It's amazing how much Duke helps. His presence motivates you." Liam nodded, squeezing Duke's fur. "He's my hero." Despite all the attention, the Carters were most grateful for the quiet moments, the small, everyday victories that marked Liam's progress. The first time Liam managed to walk without dizziness, the first meal he ate without feeling nauseous, the first time he laughed again. Duke's story had brought them together as a community, but it had also strengthened their family bond. The boy and his dog were more than friends. They were lifelines for each other. As spring turned into summer, Liam's strength returned. He spent more time outdoors again, with Duke faithfully by his side, ready for their next adventure, and through it all the memory of that terrifying day remained, a reminder of a dog's unwavering courage and the extraordinary power of love. As Liam's recovery advanced, life gradually began to feel normal again. Yet there was one secret about that day in the woods that only Duke seemed to know. A secret that, when finally revealed, would stun everyone. The Carters had often wondered why Duke had acted with such instinctive urgency. After all, Liam's fall had looked accidental, one of those unfortunate slips that could happen to any child. But Duke's behavior had been different from anything they'd ever seen. It was as if he knew something deeper, something no one else could understand. One afternoon, while the family sat together in their living room, Michael shared the story again with a local journalist who had come to learn more about Duke's bravery. The journalist asked questions about the boy's fall, the rescue, and Duke's actions. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then glanced at Duke, who lay quietly by the fireplace, his eyes watching them all. "Well," she began slowly, "there's More to that day than just a fall. The journalist leaned in, intrigued. See, Sarah continued, Liam has a rare medical condition called epilepsy. It's something we've always managed carefully. On that day, Liam had a seizure while they were near the creek. He wasn't just unconscious because of a fall. Duke sensed the seizure and sprang into action. Michael nodded in agreement. Duke has always been more than just a pet. He's been trained as a service dog for Liam's epilepsy. When Liam started seizing, Duke was trained to respond, to keep him safe, to alert us, and to help protect him until help arrived. The journalist's eyes widened. So Duke wasn't just rescuing him from a fall, he was saving him from the dangers of a seizure. Yes, Sarah said softly. Duke's training kicked in immediately. That's why he dragged Liam away, from the creek, where the water could have been deadly during a seizure, and why he kept barking to get help. For years, Duke had been Liam's silent guardian, trained to detect the subtle signs that a seizure was coming. He would alert the family, help calm Liam during episodes, and keep him safe from harm. On that terrifying day, all those skills had come together in a way no one could have imagined. The town's admiration for Duke deepened even further. People weren't just amazed by a dog's bravery. They were in awe of a partnership that saved a life through trust, training, and love. Liam's epilepsy was a challenge the family had faced quietly, and now, with Duke's incredible role revealed, it became a symbol of hope for others dealing with similar struggles. The Carters began working with a local epilepsy foundation, sharing their story to raise awareness about the importance of service dogs and the incredible impact they can have on people's lives. Duke's story became more than just a tale of heroism. It became a beacon for families everywhere, a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary acts come from the most unexpected places. As the journalist packed up to leave, Sarah looked at Duke and smiled. You've been our guardian angel all along, haven't you, boy? Duke wagged his tail slowly, content and proud. Liam reached down and scratched behind Duke's ears. You're my best friend, he said quietly. In that moment, the unspoken secret was no longer hidden. It was a powerful testament to the bond between a boy and his dog, a bond that had faced darkness and come out stronger on the other side. With the secret finally revealed, the community's respect for Duke and the Carters deepened in ways no one could have predicted. The story of the dog who not only saved Liam's life, but had been trained for years to protect him from his epilepsy, touched hearts everywhere. It was a reminder that sometimes true heroes don't wear capes, they wear fur. In the weeks that followed, the Carter family became advocates for service animals. They worked closely with epilepsy organizations to promote awareness of how dogs like Duke make an immeasurable difference in the lives of those living with the condition. Liam, now stronger and more confident, began speaking at local schools and community centers, sharing his story alongside Duke. His message was clear. With the right support, challenges could be faced head-on. Duke isn't just my dog, Liam said during one talk. He's my guardian. He saves me every day. At home, the bond between boy and dog was as strong as ever. Duke remained a constant presence, attentive, protective, and loving. His training continued, but his loyalty was something natural, born from years of friendship and trust. The family celebrated small milestones with joy: Liam's first seizure-free month in years, his return to school, and his growing independence. Throughout it all, Duke was there, a silent guardian ready to spring into action if needed. One sunny afternoon, Michael took a photo of Liam and Duke sitting together under their favorite tree in the backyard. Liam leaned against Duke, the dog, resting his head gently on Liam's lap. It was a perfect picture of love and resilience. That photo would later appear in an article about the power of service animals, an image that symbolized hope, courage, and the extraordinary bond between a boy and his dog. Though the terrifying day by the creek would never be forgotten, it was no longer a story of danger and fear. Instead, it was a testament to strength, loyalty, and the miracles that happen when love refuses to give up. As Liam looked down at Duke and whispered, "Thank you, buddy," the dog responded with a soft lick and a wagging tail, as if to say, "I'll always be here." Together they had faced the darkness, and together they would face whatever came next.